Van Helsing and the Brides of Dracula. Carpathian Mountains, Transylvania. Late 1800s. The night wind howled like a morning banshee as Professor Abraham Van Helsing rode through the dark pine forests of Transylvania. His face was stern beneath the brim of his weathered hat, his cloak flapping behind him like the wings of a raven. Word had reached him from a terrified monk in the village of Veresti. The brides of Dracula had returned to Castle Bran, feasting upon shepherds, maidens, and travelers who dared pass after sundown. These were no ordinary vampires. They were Dracula's first creations, women he had seduced and cursed with eternal hunger. Though Dracula himself had been slain years before by Van Helsing's own hand, his brides remained, hiding in shadows, waiting for the age of night to rise once more. Van Helsing had come to finish what he started. Van Helsing arrived at the foot of Castle Bran as a storm broke over the mountains. Lightning danced across the ruined towers, casting spectral light on stone gargoyles and rusted gates. With a silver crucifix in one hand and a sharpened stake in the other, Van Helsing passed through the gates. The air was thick with the smell of blood and roses. Inside the grand hall, candlelight flared, though no one had lit them. 3 figures emerged from the shadows like mist. Ileana, the eldest, with silver hair like moonlight and eyes that could paralyze a man's heart. Celine, the temptress, clothed in scarlet silk, her laughter echoing like bells from the underworld. Mara, the youngest, with long red curls and lips that dripped red from her last kill. "Welcome, Slayer," Ileana purred. "Did you think Dracula was the only monster here?" Van Helsing flung holy water at their feet. It hissed and steamed, forcing them back. "What?" Ileana screamed in rage, her beauty contorting into something ancient and terrible. Celine sprang like a panther, claws flashing, but Van Helsing fired his pistol. Loaded with silver and ashwood, she collapsed, shrieking as her body dissolved into smoke and embers. "One down," he growled. Mara vanished, reappearing behind him. She whispered into his ear, "Join us, Van Helsing. You could live forever." But the vampire hunter drove a stake into her heart mid-sentence. Her mouth froze in shock as her form crumbled to dust. Ileana shrieked so loud it shattered the stained glass windows of the hall. Wind and shadows spiraled around her. "You think you can destroy me, mortal? I was his queen, I am night." "I fear no queen of darkness," Van Helsing replied, raising a blade forged from consecrated silver. Their duel tore through the castle, sword clashing against claws, flame against mist. At last he cornered her in Dracula's crypt. With one final prayer, he plunged the blade through her heart. She wailed, as centuries of unholy life left her. The silence after, as dawn broke, the skies cleared. The once cursed halls of Castle Bran began to collapse, freed at last from the evil that bound them. Van Helsing stood over the ashes of the brides, whispering a Latin prayer for their tormented souls. There would be no resurrection, but he knew darkness always finds new servants, and Van Helsing would always be ready. The end. For now,